3 different walks, 3 different paths, one shared destiny. Welcome to the ultimate tournament.
There are athletes, and then there are forces of nature that happen to wear football boots. 3 men, 3 countries, 3 completely different ways of being extraordinary. And in the summer of 2026, for the last time, they would all share the same stage. This is not a story about a tournament. This is a story about what it means to give everything for decades to a single dream. Rosario, Argentina, 11 years old. A club in Barcelona paid for his medical treatment in exchange for the right to shape what he would become. They had no idea what they were buying. 8 Ballon d'Or awards, 4 Champions League titles, 10 La Liga championships, a Copa America, and in Qatar in December 2022, a World Cup. But statistics are the language of people who never watched him play. The real Messi was never in the numbers. He was in the moment the ball touched his left foot and time slowed down. In the drop of the shoulder, the half step, the change of direction no defender ever learned to predict. For 2 decades, he answered every question about greatness by simply playing another season. The question was never answered. He was made irrelevant. At 35, they said he was finished. At 36, he won the World Cup. At 38, he came back one more time. Not because he had to, because the game was not done with him yet.
One more.
If Messi was poetry, Ronaldo was a declaration. Funchal, the 4th child of a family that had very little of anything, except hunger. 5 Ballon d'Or awards, 5 Champions League titles with 3 different clubs, a European championship. Every league he entered, he conquered. But the number that defines him most is not a trophy. It is a training session at 4 in the morning. Repeated every week for 25 years. When others celebrated, Ronaldo worked. When others rested, Ronaldo studied. He was not born the greatest athlete in football history. He built himself into one. At 36, they said his legs were gone. He finished as top scorer that season. At 40, he took a penalty in a World Cup final in front of 100,000 people with the eyes of a man who had never once doubted himself. There's a word in Croatian, ponos, that means pride. The kind that does not shout. The kind that simply stands. He was born during a war. He lost his grandfather to that war. He spent part of his childhood in a hotel for refugees. And then he became the best midfielder on the planet. 4 Champions League titles, named the best player in the world in 2018, ending 10 years of Messi and Ronaldo owning that conversation. The world had not seen that coming. Modrić had. In Russia in 2018, Croatia, a nation of 4 million, reached the World Cup final. Modrić played 6 matches in 30 days, 3 of them to extra time and penalties. More minutes than any outfield player on earth. He was 32 years old, and he was the best player in the tournament. They lost to France. He took his runner-up medal, looked at it for a long moment, and put it in his pocket, like a man who understood exactly what it meant and exactly what it didn't. At 39, he came to 2026 knowing it was his last. He did not say it publicly. Everyone who had ever watched him play already knew. 3 men, 3 journeys, each one unrepeatable. Messi, the boy from Rosario who became the measure by which all others are judged. Ronaldo, the boy from Funchal who willed himself into an argument that will never be settled. Modrić, the boy who grew up in a war and showed the world that football was not always about glory. Sometimes it was about grace. They were rivals before they were legends. But in the summer of 2026, they shared something only they could understand. What it costs to love something that much, for that long, without ever stopping. The Last Dance was not a tournament. It was a farewell to 3 versions of greatness the world was lucky enough to witness at the same time. A privilege no generation before was given, and no generation after will be given again. When the final whistle blew, somewhere in a quiet corridor under a stadium, 3 pairs of eyes met in the dark. No words were needed. They had already said everything, across more than 60 years of football between them. It was worth it.